It's another week, and we got more fact or fiction for you. I got some doozies. Now, I'm going to make Rajiv answer. Coming up next, Locked On Badgers. Let's go.
You are Locked On Badgers, your daily podcast on the Wisconsin Badgers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What is going on, Wisconsin Badgers fans? Welcome to Locked On Badgers, your team every single day. Thank you for being an everydayer. Thank you for being part of this community. Thank you for tuning in. Today's episode, we are doing fact or fiction. We have Bama stuff. I've got some. Rajiv has got some. Again, we don't share these with each other, so we're not going to share them in advance with you either. Today's episode is brought to you by Monarch Money. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONCollege at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. We also got some great recommendations from the Discord on Fact or Fiction. We got so many, in fact, we're not going to be able to do them all today. But what I'm going to do, because there's some awesome ones in there, we're going to wrap that up. And maybe Rajiv and I, again, if he has more time, we'll do a follow-up show just on those. Or if he can't, I'll get somebody else on. But we're going to wrap those up too. So if your Fact or Fiction doesn't get in this show, it's going to get wrapped up and done later. Rajiv, I'm ready. You ready?
I'm ready. Let's do it, man.
We got great feedback on this last week. We're going to try to do this every week. Again, we have not shared our fact or fiction with each other. And if you're in the comments, you let us know where you're at as this is kind of unfolding your fact or fiction judgment on what we got. Here's my first one, buddy. Fact or fiction, this is a one-possession game in the fourth quarter.
Oh, I want to say fact, but I can't. It's fiction. Boy, just bringing it down to start the show. Yeah, it's fiction, man. It's fiction because we still don't know if Renfro's going to play. I've heard conflicting reports. Some say he might play. Some say he won't play. I don't know. I don't know if you know, but who knows yet? Even if Renfro does play, I don't know about one score going into the fourth quarter. I think maybe two certainly is possible, but it just seems like it's going to be so hard to move the ball on that defense. And that's the thing. It's like, I want to believe that we can do a lot in that game. And I think defensively, we're going to have the ability to stop them for sure. I mean, not all the time, but we're definitely going to be tougher on them defensively than we were last year. That to me is clear. They're not going to be as good offensively as they were last year. That also to me is clear. They don't have Milroe. They've got Ty Simpson. Ryan Williams, still a question mark, could actually play this weekend. I was talking to some Alabama guys today. They say he's sort of day to day. But nonetheless, therefore, they're not going to score 42. But our offense with our offensive line, I don't know how we move the ball, man. It's going to be a rough one.
Roger Dodger fact, Jim fiction, Smo fiction. Matthew Anderson said, no longer believe with Rajiv. Jesse,
I'm sorry, man. I'm sorry, Matthew.
there is Mr. October says it's a total red herrings. It's a fiction.
Dude, Mr. October, he's brought this to me before. It's like red herrings. That's pretty funny.
So I'm also going fiction. There's again, people are kind of mixed on this. Hooger says facts, give me it close. I'm going to go fiction, but I'm going to caveat this with I'm only going to play the scenario if Renfro's playing. Because if Renfro's not playing, then it's fiction. If Renfro's playing, I can see a scenario where this defense bows up and they play well enough to keep it close. Alabama's not the Alabama of old, and we have injury concerns. They do too. You talked Williams, but also Jam Miller. They have a big injury on the defensive line. They're limited in a couple places. But I am also sadly going fiction on this one, Rajiv.
Yeah, man, it's tough. Like I listen, I appreciate the people that they're saying this fact. And I love the optimism. I feel like that first half against MTSU kind of scarred me. Like it made me really think like, boy, this line, and that's MTSU. We're talking about MTSU is basically at the level of like maybe Louisiana Monroe, a team they beat by 60 points last week. So, there's a lot.
73.
All right,
yeah.
man.
They beat them by 73 last week, Alabama.
God, right. Yeah. Exactly. Okay, Ryan, fact or fiction? Given our Big Ten slate, the Badgers should hold out anyone who isn't 100% against Bama, including Renfro and Edwards, if they're ready, in essence, conceding the loss because it doesn't really matter.
Fiction. I love this question. I actually talked about this before. I thought about this. I say fiction for two reasons. The first is the message it sends. You just can't. I think in baseball, you can do more of that because there's so many games and it's a long haul. Football's such a short season. You just can't hold out guys if they're good enough to play. I think it sends a message that you don't have confidence in your team. Everything we heard this offseason was this team's culture, the belief that, they're all marching the same direction. If Renfro is good enough after what you saw against Middle Tennessee State. If you hold him out, I think you demolish any chance of Danny O'Neal having a solid game. You might get him hurt. You're not going to build any momentum. I think if those guys are healthy enough, you take the swing. You take the swing because you don't get many opportunities to take a swing at an Alabama in the out of conference. You do it because those kids deserve the chance, quite frankly. They don't get a lot of chances to play in games like this in their lives. So I definitely understand the question. It's one I've thought about. But if they're healthy enough to go, in my opinion, you absolutely put them out there because you owe it to their teammates to give them the best opportunity to play.
So my official answer on this is fiction. However, it's pretty close to the middle for me, which is why I think it's an interesting discussion point. And the reason I say that is because I also think you have to factor in the fact, like, yes, if they're 100%, like, then I think that's fair. But you also really risk furthering an injury. So Renfro sounds like he has some lower leg injury, could be a knee or something like that. Obviously, we know Edwards has a knee. And if there's any risk of potential re-injury, which I guess there always is in sports, I understand that. But if you're not playing at 100% and you're playing against one of the best teams in the country or one of the most physical teams in the country, and you're going to get beaten up, do you risk then furthering that when if you took the week off, maybe you could play, but should you play knowing that, you know what, now one more week in Maryland, and after that, you got a bye week. I agree. You take the swing, you go for it. If Renfro can play, I want him to play too. It is fiction for me, but I really did think about this. I just feel like, man, like I don't want to have a situation where Renfro's all of a sudden, okay, well, now he's going to be gone for 5 more weeks because he hurt his knee playing Bama, because he maybe went out there a little bit earlier than he should. Coaches always say that, you got to protect the players from themselves, right? Players want to play. Okay, so that's fair. So like, do the coaches have to then kind of be like, you know what, like how close are you to really being 100% here? And I guess my point is there's a little bit like lower of a threshold for me. Like normally I'm saying just go out there and play. In this game, especially with the center and the quarterback, like I really don't want to risk them unless they really are healthy enough to play and feel comfortable not re-injuring. I recognize that's never going to happen, but this really gave me like, I really thought about this a lot because I just don't want to blow the Big Ten season because we rushed it too fast just to give them that Bama chance,
I think that's why these are good questions. They're not black and white and they're not simple. I think you very well and very eloquently just talked about why it might make some sense. And Rog agrees with you. Rog says, I'm with Rajiv here. D.A. Wolf says, love that answer, Ryan. You changed my mind. I wanted to sit them. So some on both here. Here's where I think some nuance plays in as well. The drop off between Renfro to Kadanko was so drastic that it made football unwatchable. It made football unplayable. I feel like this is a game that has a national spotlight on it. If you're a Big Ten team and you go to an SEC team, people watch. It's on ESPN. People care. People talk about it. You could look like a disaster if you can't snap the ball in Bryant-Denny. This is the type of thing that can be an embarrassment. And this program, I think, is at a point where you need to look good. And I think if you're looking at Edwards versus O'Neal, the way O'Neal played, maybe you have more pause on Edwards. You see what I'm saying? Like, you need Renfro in there probably more than you need Edwards. And that's not, despite our previous talks on Edwards versus O'Neal, that's not a shot on Edwards. It's just O'Neal's a pretty capable backup. And we don't have a capable backup center.
It's a very good point about the degree of difference, right, between Kadanko and Renfro and Edwards and O'Neal. And Luke Fickell actually said something in his press conference this week, talking about how a lot of players that came to Wisconsin because they were going to play this game. Like they get an opportunity to go to Bryant-Denny Stadium and play. I think you did bring up a good point that could kind of help me move to that direction of like, this is one of those big swings that they get. And it's not a swing that either of us think is going to actually hit, but it's a swing. You're up at the plate. Like you get a chance to play that game. So I think there is some value to that. And yeah, man, like, boy, when you look at Kadanko and Renfro and that difference, and then if you have Renfro in there, now you've got Kadanko or Cubberly that can play the right guard. And then you can maybe have both of them play it a little bit and see which one's better. And I mean, I think Kadanko will be far better at the guard position than he was at the center position, far better. And, then you could really have a discussion about who that right guard should be. But if he doesn't play and Kadanko's at center and Cubs at right guard, that's not going to be pretty.
Yeah, I think we're aggressively agreeing on this one in some facets. We're going to take a second here. I got a doozy for Rajiv coming up next that I don't know if he's going to like. We're doing that next on Locked On Badgers. First, a quick second for our incredible friends of the show over at Mazda. Mazda crafts cars for those who simply want to do more than simply move. Sometimes you want to get in the car and just move. Mazda is about elevating that experience a little bit more. All-wheel drive standard in every crossover SUV, so you can drive with confidence through any season. And a lot of us live in Wisconsin. I do. That's pretty important to me. Our road barely gets plowed, so giving that all-wheel drive in any season is really important. And you can make every way. Again, Mazda is about making everyday drives just feel a little bit more than just driving. Elevate that experience. You spend a ton of time in a car, in a vehicle. Let's make that a little bit more magical, and that's what Mazda is all about. Like our players, Mazda sweats every single detail, because when you can make every move count, impossible becomes irrelevant. Mazda, move and be moved. Today's episode also brought to you by our incredible friends over at DoorDash. And we got to talk about one of my, I think he is one of the, I don't know, the surprise players, but Daniel Neal, the way he played last week, coming in week one, and I know not a perfect game, but still getting the W, 2-0. Daniel Neal, he has delivered just like DoorDash delivers. And you can win every Saturday with DoorDash streaks. The more you order, the more you're going to save, and you build up those streaks, just like Daniel Neal's got 2 streaks in a row, 2 solid games in a row, 1 really good game. DoorDash delivers your Saturdays. With DoorDash streaks, you can save every Saturday you order. Stack it up all season. You can save up to $250, including $100 in DoorDash credits. Order this Saturday. Keep the streak alive. Fuel your game day only with DoorDash. Terms do apply. Promo period through 11/18. Rajiv, why don't you go first on this one? I went first on the last one.
Okay. All right. So fact or fiction, the run blocking from all positions, not just the O-line, but from everyone that factors into run blocking, is the worst we've seen since before Ron Dane. That's basically most of our entire fandom. Like, is it in your entire fandom of watching this team, have you seen the run blocking this bad? Fact or fiction?
I think that's fact. And I'm trying to kind of Rolodex through my head of various offensive lines and various teams. I don't know if there's ever been a team that averaged 0.3 yards per carry against an entire half where they tried to run the ball against a team like Middle Tennessee State. I hate this question. I think it's fact. And this is 2 weeks in a row. I think the telling thing, and we talked about this after week 1, we talked about this after week 2, there's been multiple possessions, 1st and goal inside the 5 against teams that have no business standing up to a Big Ten offensive line, where we had to get cute or a little inconvenient to score because we just couldn't push our way into the end zone 3 yards out with what we think are good running backs. Dylan Jones was a 4-star guy. This is not a running back unit bereft of talent. So, dude, I hate this. It pains me. I think it's fact.
It's kind of crazy to think about. Like, I mean, so Ron Dane, my freshman year was 99, and that was Ron Dane's record-breaking year. So basically, while Barry Alvarez has been here, I mean, it's been a long time. To think that it's that bad is really, really rough. And it really is that bad. I mean, you and I both watched the All-22s, and I'm telling you, like, it was difficult to watch that, to see. Like, you'd see the offensive line. Brunner was pulling out a lot. He was a pulling guard. He was like he was basically pulling it and being like a lead blocker. And then there was like either Aker or a tight end even behind him, and then the running back. So there was a lot of opportunities there. And the number of guys that just missed on blocks and missed on assignments, very clear assignments. And then if you go back, and I also, I looked back I watched an All-22 of last year. I picked a random game. I picked the Iowa game, in fact. And we didn't play that well in that game. But even then, the blocking wasn't this bad. Like, it was just, and this is what's frustrating to me is we have AJ Blazek and you have Jeff Grimes. You have 2 offensive line gurus running this running game and coordinating this running game and deciding where the assignments are. This is Jeff Grimes' blocking system. And it's not working. And it's not working against bad teams. I just struggle to think, like, where have we gone? Like, how much is that being talked about in the room right now? Obviously, we know offensive line is everything, but the run game blocking is so bad that I really don't even understand how that happened. I mean, Jeff Grimes has been doing this a long time. And these players, Jackson Aker's been around a long time. Like, this is not new to him. And I don't know if they're just not, if they're not really getting right with the scheme yet, or they're not like there, or they're not, aware of their assignments, or they're not okay with the zone scheme. But it's scary. It's definitely fact. And it's something that I just hate to admit.
Matthew Anderson brings up an interesting name. Remember Markinson, the offensive line coach for Bielema, that lasted for like 3 games before they shifted to Bart Miller You remember that? Maybe
Yeah.
Markinson was equally bad. I mean, the dude got fired like 3 games into his first year as the offensive line coach.
That was pretty bad.
And that's a good pull. Matthew Anderson, that's a great pull. A lot of other people on here saying fact. A lot of facts.
I made it too easy. I was hoping that someone was gonna. I was hoping that you were gonna say no, but
I will say this, and I think it's fair to point out, it's more than the offensive line, right? It is Aker missing blocks, it's tight ends missing blocks. So it's more than just the offensive line is pretty bad at run blocking. I made a point in a previous show. I think they missed a traditional fullback. If Jeff Grimes wants to use a guy or an I formation and have a fullback in there, Aker was a halfback in high school. Like, I think having a Derek Watt, a Brady Ewing, an Alec Ingold that could just plant people, that's all he does, occasional carries, I think that would help. But yeah, dude, I think it's fact, sadly.
Hooger has a good comment up here. I don't think it's the coaching. Definitely the older bodies in that room. They're just not great. Plus new scheme. Plus no one has had time together, and there's no depth. Whole crapshoot of problems. I hear this, Hooger. I just feel like I still think they should be better. It's still surprising to me that these guys are missing so many blocks, and it's just frustrating. And you're seeing like these MTSU just swarm the ball because not one, not two, but 3 people. Like maybe it was Coverly and then Brunner and then Aker. They all missed on their blocks, and then the guy swarmed for a 1-yard loss. Like that's really surprising, and it's something that I honestly just you could never anticipate it being this bad.
Yeah, that was all in one play, by the way. Coverly, Aker, Mason. That was all in one play.
Brutal.
Let me give you a next one. Fact or fiction? We overestimate, or we put too much importance on Billy Edwards' supposed experience and not enough on Danny O'Neill's.
Oh boy. Okay, say that one more time. I got to think about it. Say that one more time.
Fact or fiction, a little too much is made about the experience of Billy Edwards in this discussion and not enough about the experience of Danny O'Neill.
That's probably a fact. It's probably a fact because obviously he did have really good experience at San Diego State. I don't know how much he played. He started all year, did he not?
I have numbers, Rajiv.
Oh, you do have numbers. Okay.
We're holding
I think, look, yes, it's a fact. However, the experience that Billy Edwards had should be made of what Billy Edwards did because he did it in the Big Ten. And he's done it for multiple schools. He's done it for multiple years. He has more experience. He does have more poise. He is the better quarterback this year, in my opinion. But I will give you the fact that Danny O'Neill has definitely deserved like some more talking points as far as his experience. But it's not the best conference that he played in before. Certainly not a bad conference, but not a good one. And the Big Ten talent is just different. Now, he hasn't faced Big Ten talent yet. And the teams that he has played are teams that he would have played at San Diego State. I stand by the fact that Billy Edwards, who's going to have played most of the teams on our schedule, will be so much more valuable against that level of competition. So it is definitely a fact in the sense that like we should be talking about it more, but I still think Billy Edwards' experience is far, far outweighs what Danny O'Neill's done.
So here's where I started thinking about this. And this was actually based on a previous conversation we had. And you talked about, and I'm really not trying to discount Billy in this. I think Billy, if he's healthy, is the starter. He's the guy. That's who the staff wanted. He's got more size, more physical tools. But you had talked about the experience, the poise, the intangibles he brings. And they've really both started 1 year. And I'm not really sure. Are we sure Billy Edwards has more poise than Danny O'Neill? Like, I guess what I'm asking is, what are we basing that on? Because at Maryland, part of Billy's rep, part of what we talked about, we had a lot of Maryland guys on. I know you've talked to Maryland guys, was decision making. That's one of the things that they've talked about being negative with him. If you look at their careers, Billy's thrown 509 passes. Danny O'Neill's thrown 376. Essentially, there's like a 3.5 game difference between those two players. When you look at their actual attempts, their actual in-game experience, which I think for the most part, that's where you build that poise. That's where you kind of build a lot of that. They're really not that far off. And I feel like there's been a lot of weight in Billy's this experienced upperclassman, and he is. And listen, I think there's obviously value in being in a program for over the course of years and seeing practices, obviously. But live game reps, it's really not that different. And I don't know if we've made too much of the fact that we think one is going to be way more poised when there's really not a big experience difference. And statistically, Danny's been better touchdown to interception ratio, better passer rating, better completion percentage, lower level, absolutely valid point. But they both just started a year.
Yeah, those are all really good points, and I think it's fair. I would say you asked about like where I think about that experience in the poise, and I think it comes from a couple things. One, every word that man has said since he's been in this program to me was the right thing. The way he has conducted himself since Billy got here, and everything from the way I saw him at Big Ten Media Days and interviewing him there, like he just seems like he's got such a command of the locker room, and you can see that in the way he interacts with everybody. You couple that with the fact that like the speed of which the defensive linemen and the strength and speed at which Danny O'Neal is going to see in this conference is like nothing he's seen before. Now, I don't know who they played at San Diego State. I don't know what the non-cons they had. Maybe they played Power Fours. I'm sure they did, but it's just different. And to me, like we all know that the game slows down over time, right? And Billy Edwards is not going to be shocked by what he sees coming at him. And Danny O'Neal could get happy feet. I said like I was very happy with what Danny O'Neal did, but it wasn't like he was surveying the field and going through read progressions. I mean, it was pretty much like the play was drawn up to go a certain direction, and he went there and he put it on. He put the balls on dimes for sure. But I think like I trust Billy Edwards to stand back there and make a few more decisions because he's seen that defense come at him before. And when we're playing much better defenses than we have the first 2 weeks, everything's going to get taken away right away. And you've got to make quick decisions. And I'm going to trust the guy that's done it in this conference before. That is pretty much all I'm basing it on. I do agree that he's got good numbers. And listen, he's already surprised me, and I hope he continues to surprise me in for the better.
Yeah, that's well said for sure. And some fact and fiction in the comments as well. Herb Herman said Boise State made him look horrid last year. Hooger says, I'm going to say fact. Tim says, I don't care about experience. I care about decision-making. O'Neal's made some bad ones. There's several just kind of on both sides of this, which I think is great. We're going to take a quick second here. We're going to come back. We got more. I don't think we're going to get to all of them, but we're going to try. Today's Locked On Badgers brought to you by our incredible friends of the show.
All right, so we're going to talk about a good friend of the show over at FanDuel. The NFL season is here, and FanDuel is making sure you're ready for kickoff with a can't-miss offer. Right now, new customers can bet just $5, and if your bet wins, you get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. Listen, you all know how I feel about this betting. By the way, I am 7-1 in my college football picks. It is a lot of fun. FanDuel is the place to do it. I have been taking I'm making 4 picks a week. I'm combining them all into a parlay. I'm also doing them separate one by one. And then I'm adding in more stuff on top of that. And in games, of course, I'm watching the game. I'm saying, all right, now I can hedge the bet going here or there. Teasers. There's so many options. You can buy points up or down. If you don't like the line, you want to make the adjustment. You obviously change the payout. There's just so many options, and FanDuel is the exact place to do it. And trust me, it's well worth it. It's a lot of fun to do it. So if you're ready to play, download the FanDuel app right now by visiting FanDuel.com to get started. That's FanDuel.com to place your first $5 bet.
And Rajiv, what are you going to do with all those winnings when you get them? Surely you're not going to waste them. Surely you're going to plan and do amazing things with that. Wherever your money's coming in from, let's make amazing plans for it. Let's do a little bit better. Just like we got to be a little bit better with our fitness, probably our eating habits, whatever. Let's be a little bit better with our money. And Monarch Money is the place I go to do all that. I have this subscription. I have this account. It's amazing. My wife and I use it. We plan together. It gives you visual goals, visual details of your spending. It's like a personal CFO giving you full visibility and control over all your finances, bringing it all under one hood. It's absolutely incredible. It is honestly kind of surprising how much money I was maybe wasting in some spots. Monarch Money was able to show that to me. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Let's be a little bit better. Talking to you right now, right there, me and you. Let's be a little bit better with our money. Use code LOCKEDONCollege at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. That's monarchmoney.com. Code LOCKEDONCollege for half off your first year. It's already helped me. I'm sure it's going to help you as well. We'll do it together. We'll be accountability buddies. monarchmoney.com. All right, Rajiv, I'm going to give you my next one. You ready for this?
Let's do it.
I'm going to throw you a curveball because, listen, you and I love football. You and I also love basketball. And media day is about a month or so coming up ahead. We're going to talk a bunch more football today, but I'm going to give you a basketball curveball.
Ooh, I love it.
And at the end of the season, Nolan Winter will be the best player on this team.
Fiction. And I love Nolan Winter. But that's going to be John Blackwell, man. I mean, That's a really good, gosh, now I'm overthinking. No, it's fiction because it's Blackwell. I think Blackwell with a guy like Nick Boyd, and look, Nick Boyd could be the best player on this roster at the end of the season too. And when you have a guy like Boyd running the point, you are putting Blackwell in his prime position of a 2 guard where he can just move around, find open space, cut to the hoop, do whatever he needs to do. And I think he takes that NBA jump. I think that Nolan Winter does as well. I think Nolan Winter is going to have a special season. They both are going to have special seasons, but it's fiction because it's John Blackwell.
Who did you compare Nolan Winter to when we first talked about him?
Dirk Nowitzki, and I'm okay with that. And I'm telling you, he's taking steps. But John Blackwell has very much impressed me on this team since he got here. And I'll tell you this: if Nick Boyd wasn't on this team, this would be fact. Nick Boyd makes this fiction because he allows Blackwell to do what he wants to do.
So I've been a big fan of the Nick Boyd edition because of what it's going to shift Blackwell into. But let me hit you with just a few numbers here. I think, first of all, I think Nolan Winter's kind of a unicorn. I think he put on weight from last year from 2 years ago to last year. He's putting on another 10 or 15 pounds this year. Last year, going on Synergy, which is the absolute golden standard of basketball stats. Nolan Winter last year, 99th percentile in transition scoring, points per possession, 98th percentile in every offensive possession across all field goal attempts. Essentially, he's better than basically everybody from an efficiency standpoint. When you get him the ball and he decides to score, which he's going to have to do a lot more of next year, his efficiency metrics are off the charts. If you just maintain a level of that and add another 10 minutes per game, which he's going to because he's taking those crowd minutes, you could see a massive jump. This is a guy as a near 7-footer that runs the floor in transition like a deer, shot 36% from three, 77% from the free throw line, led the Big Ten in field goal percentage inside the perimeter, shot 72% inside the arc, 90-something percentile in post scoring, 92nd in catch and shoot jumpers. Oh, by the way, on a team that struggled in defense, 65th percentage in defensive post up, 90th percentage in spot up defense. Dude, I'm telling you, you look at him with an opportunity available with Crowell out of the post and his ability to space the floor, run, and score at every single level while also playing among the best defense on the team. I think he could have a massive jump next year.
Are you saying fact on this?
I'm saying fact.
Okay. So to play devil's advocate, now listen, who liked Nolan Winter the most coming into that class? That was this guy. I was all over that.
Yeah, you love
Let me play devil's advocate. Now you're getting the team's best interior defender, right? That interior defender is not guarding Crowell. They're guarding Winter. Does that change the efficiency numbers? Look, he's still going to have a good year, but he was being very, very efficient. Kudos to him. But he was also getting, like, he was being guarded by another 4. He wasn't being guarded by the primary interior defender. And I think that will change things. The focal point that's going to be drawn to him, like as much as people, dislike Crowell, you and I really liked him because he was very creative down low. He was very, very good, and we are going to miss him a ton. That shifting to Winter is the one thing I would say those efficiency numbers are going to drop, and he's still going to have a big year. But I do think maybe we might be overplaying that efficiency a bit too much just because now he's one of the focal points of the offense. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, Mitch James says the same thing. Opposition's top post defender was always on Crowell. Listen, I think it's a really good point. And there's no doubt the more minutes you get, the more shots you're forced to take, the more your efficiency will drop to some degree. I'll just say this. It's very rare for a player to average 20-something minutes and finish almost across the board in the upper 90th percentile in efficiency metrics. That usually points to something that's kind of special. That's not a function. Like, you could do it in shooting, but you're not doing it in post-up shooting, transition across the board at that level. That shows you that there's special mechanics behind those metrics. The other thing I'd say is I really think that some of those post defenders that were guarding Crowell, they're not going to want to space out with Winter. He's just going to provide a different type of issue for him. You talked about Blackwell, who I love. Blackwell wasn't great on defense last year. If we're talking best player in the team and we really want to game it out, assist to turnover ratio, Blackwell wasn't great. Defense wasn't great. I love Blackwell. I think it's Winter.
Listen, I mean, nothing would make me happier. I've been so high on Winter since the minute I saw his film for the first time. So I'm all about that. Okay. I'm going to go to something more positive here because I've been a little down this show. So I'm going to turn it back up the right way. Fact or fiction, this scoring defense can be elite, and keep us in all of our big games. It's a high bar.
Can you kind of clarify what you mean by elite?
So basically, when I look at Alabama, Michigan, Ohio State, Oregon, these guys, truly elite to where those teams are having a hard time scoring, meaning that you can keep your, let's say you can keep your scoring defense, which right now is 5 points a game. You can keep your scoring defense with our schedule to under 23 or 24 points a game.
That's a really good one. And this actually overlaps with one that I had as well. So this is good. It's a little different, but it's good. I'm gonna say fact. It's so we let's acknowledge the fact that it's really hard to keep elite offenses down for 4 quarters if you don't have a competent offense on the other side, which we may not have if this offensive line doesn't get better. Let's acknowledge that. But I look at this defense, I see 2 disruptive edge rushers in Reiger and Cheeks. I see a pretty salty front line that has size. I see 2 inside linebackers, one I really like in Christian Allegra, and then I see veteran guys in the secondary at safety, corner, and I think Agard has stepped up, man. Elite's a tough one, but I'm going to say fact on this. I think this defense keeps us in most games this year as long as the offense isn't a complete dumpster fire.
Yeah, Mr. October brings up a good point that I was going to add to it. Need the offense to improve time of possession to help. That's a really critical point in this, which does make it very hard because if we're punting the ball away and turning the ball over, we're going to be in tough spots. Ultimately, this defense has basically given up 3 points so far. Maybe 20 is the right number for elite potentially, because considering they're only at 5 right now, and they've really only given up 3 because that turnover cost them 7 points. I also agree this is fact. I'm so impressed with what I've seen from these guys, and I know we haven't played great offenses. I understand that. We are going to see very, very early on Saturday morning what this defense really can do against elite teams. Ultimately, it's about, like, as you said, the players. We know that Ricardo Hallman, I was talking to some Alabama guys today. They were like, yeah, we wanted him, right? I mean, Ricardo Hallman it can be certainly elite. Amelia Agard's impressed us. And you couple that with the Hills and the, other people that can fill in there, Latimer at the slot. And we know we're happy with the safeties. You've got Allegro and you've got Curtis. And then all of a sudden you've got 5 or 6 defensive tackles that are actually being disruptive. Like, where is the gap in this defense? It's almost like we know where the gap is offensively, but it's hard to find a hole right now. Maybe it's the second cornerback, but it's like everyone's feeling pretty good about where we are. And I think it translates really well. I think it's not just about like, if we allow 5 points to the first 2 teams, maybe we allow 15 or 20 to other teams. Maybe we allow 13 to Maryland. That's fine. Like, that's where we need to be. And when we play Oregon, we're probably not going to give up less than 35. But I mean, I still think that this defense is going to be the thing that keeps us in games. I think it's going to be talked about as the season progresses as one of the reasons that Wisconsin's record is better than it probably should be.
Well, let me push back on one spot. And maybe the biggest reason I pause, I'm not sure Ricardo Hallman's elite. What have you seen? What did you see week 2 that would put you there? Or go back to last year, we saw him match up against Bama. And listen, Bama's tough, man. You match up against Ryan Williams, what are you going to do? But I'm not sure if that spot is good enough to create an elite defense for us. We saw Middle Tennessee State hit us a couple times, quite frankly. That's where I would push back. I think the edge, I think the interior, I think the linebackers, I think the safeties, you can check all those boxes. I think I'm good with all those. I don't know if we have the dudes at corner to be an elite defense.
I'm going to chalk up Rico's performance against Middle Tennessee State to just a bad game in a bad headspace. And maybe he just wasn't really like, I'm not saying that's obviously part of being elite is being able to do it every week. I hear that. But like, you just let your guard down a little bit. You're playing Middle Tennessee State. You don't really, I mean, I'm sure they didn't think that in the scouting reports, they didn't think number 1 was going to just, run all over the field and they were going to launch up to him constantly. So I think that he was caught a little bit off guard by that. He certainly made a couple bad plays, but he really only made one truly bad play. And then I think Hill made the other one on the deep pass on the side. So it wasn't like horrible from him. But even last year, there were just times where we didn't hear his name, and that's exactly what we want, And obviously 2 years ago had a much better number with the interceptions. I think that it's probably one of these things where when he really wants to be the guy, I think he really can. And with our schedule getting a lot better and seeing what was coming down the road, he probably just kind of took that game off. I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt. You could be right, but I still think at the end of the year, we're looking at him as an elite defender that's going to be drafted in the first 3 rounds of the draft.
Okay. A couple of people in the comment, tons of people in the comment, by the way. Yeah, a lot of people in their mind, like Tim says, in my mind, elite is top 5. We will not be there. Matthew Anderson says Reiger elevates his D to a different level. Quick pressures are at the top of the country. He has 9 quarterback. He's 12th in the country. Riger's 12th in the country in quarterback pressures, hurries right now.
He's good. He's good.
He's good. He's really, really
he
good.
Looks like a Watt out there, man.
Yep. And Matthew says top 25 is elite. If top 25 is elite, then yes. Let me hit you with my next one. We're going to go a little long today because we got some good ones here. Fact or fiction? The Badgers need to reevaluate roster construction in the offseason.
Oh, absolute 100% fact. Because every time we think that they got it going, they're just making small little mistakes and errors with it. I mean, obviously the offensive line, case in point, 2023 class had nothing in it. We needed to beef up with younger players that could grow with the program. That didn't happen. We've lost some in-state guys. That's an issue. But it's really just about finding out where those holes are and building throughout the years to be better. So, yeah, I mean, there's definitely an issue there. I think that we've gotten better from a defensive standpoint with that roster construction. I think that's really there. I mean, obviously, you've got some safeties coming up through the ranks. I've got some cornerbacks coming up. We've got some defensive linemen coming up. We've got some edge rushers coming up. So I feel like from a defensive side, mostly the construction is there and it's pretty good. But I definitely feel like there were a lot of issues made offensively that you've got to just reevaluate, take a step back, and really be looking at, okay, who's going to stay? You've got to factor in the transfer portal. You've got to assume that you're going to lose 20, 30, 40%, whatever it is every year to the portal. So you've got to factor that in. You've got to make sure you've got enough backups. You've got to make sure the pipelines are there. I think the staff is moving in the right direction. I just don't think they're quite yet there on roster construction.
I'm also fact on this. And to me, this goes back, I think you can trace it back to the beginning of the Fick era. Now, I don't think any staff is perfect. And I want to acknowledge that every staff has kind of dealt with a rapidly shifting landscape in college football, college sports, which has been tough to grapple with, right? I think that's impacted roster construction and management across the spectrum for every team. But remember when he came in, quarterbacks, let's bring in Mordecai, let's bring in Evers, let's bring in Locke. Like, it feels like they go too far in one direction every offseason. Last offseason, it was 5 linebackers. Do you remember we brought in a linebacker and then later brought in another linebacker and had too many, so that guy just left? Mm-hmm. Do you remember this? And then, by the way, but we didn't have anything at some other spots. Right? We were bereft of talent in other spots. Well, you brought in 6 linebackers, and because that Christian Allegro couldn't play when he should have been playing the entire year because we brought all these other guys in. And last year, it was the defensive line as the front seven. We got to get better there. So we brought in 6, 7 guys, right? Total tunnel vision. And now Michael Garner's not playing. Perkins isn't playing. I guess what I'm at is there needs to be a little bit more of a strategic vision. Every dollar matters. Every scholarship matters. And this offensive line was light. And this isn't just because Kevin Haywood got hurt, right? This offensive line needed another body. And I think this offseason, they need to take a little bit more of a, like, next offseason, they're going to get 17 offensive linemen, and we're not going to have a cornerback, right? So I also think it's fact. I love a lot of what they did this offseason. I want to be very clear on that. I've given them a ton of credit for most of what they've done, but it's got to get better. And I think they got to look at it more holistically.
The one point I would just push back on a little bit is, like, had we not gotten Garner or Perkins, would we have said that it was too light heading into the season? Maybe not now because we know who's been playing, but, like, would we have thought it was almost too light? We were pretty happy with what they got because we said they needed to fill the room. They needed to get bodies in there. We needed depth. We needed rotation ability. Well, we brought that. And now we're like, well, we need other positions. I agree with you that we needed more linemen for sure. But I do think that we would probably be complaining had Perkins and Garner not been brought in.
So, and Will Hannah said the same thing. I have no problem with Bucky loading up on that D-line. I think, to me, it's more of a continuation of a pattern we've seen where they go really heavy in one spot and ignore a few. Because in the summer, I talked in the summer about, guys, we need another lineman offensively. We're good now. So I think they just lean too far into certain spots. And I think it's a fair point that you bring up as well, though. But yeah, I think it's fact.
Yeah. I got another one I want to give you.
Sure.
I asked this to Justin the other day. He said it was fiction, but okay. Jeff Grimes had to use way more of his playbook than he wanted to in the second half of MTSU. And he kind of, like, in a sense, not panicked, but he had to bring out what he probably didn't want to just to make sure that we looked a lot better in that game.
I think that's fact. Again, I didn't hear Justin's counter argument, so I'd be curious to see what it is. I think that is very clearly some fact. If they had wanted to just run the ball, or they did want to run the ball more in the interior, and it just didn't work. I know one thing Justin had mentioned, and again, this is Justin has great points and he knows ball. Justin mentioned they didn't lean into the running game enough. I don't think you can keep leaning into the running game if you're averaging 0.3 yards per carry. It wasn't working. So I think he had to adjust because of that. You look at some of the play calls, the 4th and 3, they didn't want to throw that whip route on 4th and 3. I guarantee they probably want to save that because he wanted to run the ball in on the first 2 times. That's what they did. If they wanted to pull that out, they would have done it on 1st down and caught him by surprise. I think he had to go to some things because the running game on the interior was, quite frankly, a tragedy. So I would think it's fact as well.
So I'm with you on fact, and Hooger brings up the argument that Justin brought up. He says Grimes did this at his other schools. Like, this is what he did against any opponent. He ran this kind of an offense. Didn't matter how much he was up. Didn't matter if it was early in the season. Didn't matter if it was against opponents that they were overmatched. Like they were the dominant team. But I absolutely think that it's fact. I just feel like there's no way. Like, I would love for that stretch play to come out for the first time against Bama to see if we can burn them on it. I would love for some of that misdirection to come out, because if we could have run it through the tackles, we would have seen nothing but that in the second half. We would have just pounded the rock, certainly given Daniel O'Neal some throws to get him loose and get him up. But all that misdirection that came out of the second half, I think that was all on a sheet of, we don't want to bring this out, but if we have to, and they had to, they did it. So Justin and I saw opposite sides of that. I'm interested, and it's not surprising that we see eye to eye, but I think there's a lot of people saying fiction. So fair enough and fair point. And I admittedly didn't watch as much Grimes. Justin has watched almost all of what Grimes has done, and he said it was clearly fiction, that he was not surprised at all by it. I still think I would have certainly liked to have seen those plays hit it until Alabama and Maryland and the Big Ten slate, because now obviously you put that all on film. And Justin said that. He did say that he puts it on film on purpose because he wants them to have to be prepared for it. So they have to prepare for more multiplicity, which I thought was a fair argument. I'm still lean fact here, but that's why I wanted to bring it up, because I think it's a good discussion.
Yeah, I think fact, but let me kind of take this in 2 separate quick ways. The first is I feel like I'm disagreeing a lot with Justin here, which isn't fair because he's not here, but I'm sure I'll get a text about it later, so it's fine. And I mean, I will text it out. Justin's great, right? I don't believe in that point. I really don't think there's anything left to the point of we don't want to put on film because Bama's not going to see it. Bama has 7 years of Grimes film. There's nothing we're going to do that's going to surprise Grimes or Bama. I mean, Bama has 17 quality defensive assistants that are grinding every bit of film he has. And as Justin said, Grimes has always done this. They're going to be ready for reverses, fake option looks, tight end drags, misdirection, middle tight ends, because he's done that at Kansas and Baylor. And there's not going to be any surprises. My point is, there's not something we're going to pull out against Bama and they're gonna be like, whoa, where did that come from? So I don't think that's a thing for an offensive coordinator that's been doing it for a long time. Bama's already seen it all with Grimes. To your point, and the reason I went fact on it is I thought you saw the game plan shift dramatically in the second half. And I think that was a direct reflection of things he didn't necessarily want to do, but things that he had to do.
Yeah, I agree. I think that and listen, kudos to him for changing it, and kudos to the team for executing it. That's for sure. I mean, but we did a little bit more than I think we needed to do and we wanted to do, which is okay. And I think that in the end, I walk away thinking that I'm very happy with the Grimes offense, and I'm gonna love this offense. I absolutely know that, and I feel like the more we see of what he does, especially when we get Renfro back and hopefully Edwards back or whatever, like we're only gonna like it more and more.
So I like everything most about it. I don't like the middle screens.
Okay, well, we agree on that.
I didn't like Paul Chris. Really, let me tell you this too, and I love this show. It's late. We're just kind of going in separate directions, but it's a ton of fun. I hated it with Paul Chris too. When Paul Chris would scheme up the tight end middle screen, it would get like 11 yards. And it's the most complicated way to get 11 yards in football. And the announcer would lose his mind. Look at the craftiness of Paul Chris. And meanwhile, we'd be playing Alabama or Ohio State, and they would just throw like a receiver screen and get 11 yards. Sometimes simplicity is okay. So I don't need any more middle screens. Like, I like Grimes, but they ran one to Jackson Aker that didn't work. They had the interception on the one to Dylan Jones. They tried one with Lance Mason that got blown up. Sometimes it's easy. Sometimes I think offensive coordinators get a little too, they want to show off a little bit, right? They want to show off the creativity, and it's not worth it. The juice isn't worth the squeeze on middle screens. Please stop.
The only thing, and I agree with you for the most part, like I didn't love those screens either. The one thing I would say is that, especially on the interception, the timing was clearly off. The blocking wasn't right. I think that Danny O'Neal put the ball in a rough spot. He actually led Dylan Jones a bit too far inside. He actually just kind of put the ball in a bad spot. It was just a poorly executed play. I think there are times when we're going to need that play. We're going to want a good screenplay. Doesn't have to be middle screen. I'm not a big fan of like bubble stuff either, but there definitely is a screen game that we're going to need to play because we're going to be playing very active and over aggressive defenses where these screenplays will come into play, and they hopefully will be successful. So I'm okay with them trying it. Certainly when they did the timing of it, with the interception, that was a bad place to do it. But I do think they can be executed a lot better. The execution was horrific. No, not surprising based on the fact that the grades that the offensive line got and how bad they played. So if the offensive line is playing better, I think that middle screen works a little more. I agree, though. I don't want it there. I don't like it. But I do understand that it can come in handy at key parts of the season.
So I do like the screen game. Again, for me, it's just I don't like the middle screen game.
Let
me hit you with one more again. Fact or fiction, Rajiv? The offensive line can be fixed this year. And
I had a feeling that you were going to ask this.
I think fixed is objective, but fixed to the standard where a above average Big Ten offensive line run blocking and pass blocking.
Yeah, so I think it's fact because I believe in Riley Mahlman. I believe in Joe Brunner. I believe in Jake Renfro. And I believe in Emerson Mandel. And I think that right now, four of them are in new spots. So that's going to take some time. And it's probably going to take through Alabama too. I don't think it's going to look pretty. But I'm a big fan of Joe Brunner. I know that you're a little bit lower on him than I am, but I feel like these guys are going to get their crap together. And no one is pissed off, as I'm sure they are, about what kind of performance and how the entire Badger fandom is talking about the offensive line. When has that ever happened in the history of this team? Like, it's absurd that we're talking about that unit being the 1 weak link on this team right now. It's crazy. That alone is going to change their mentality and make them work that much harder. I believe in what Mandel can do. I think he fits well at the tackle. I think he had a good game. You pointed out that the grades were really good for both Mahlman and Mandel. And then if Renfro comes back and you put either Cub or Kadenko out there at right guard or Ben Schwall or whatever, that's really just one person that you're not really confident in. The other four I'm pretty confident in. So yeah, I do think it gets fixed. I think we were not prepared to start the year clearly, but I think the fact that everyone and their mother that follows anything with Wisconsin related is talking about this. Luke Fickell is just offensive line, Jeff Grimes. That's all they're talking about. And I think it's going to get fixed.
How much of that do you think you need it to be fixed? And not use, but for this team to work, it has to be fixed. If you were on the outside looking in, you were doing Locked on Iowa, RIP Trent Condon, who did that, not die, but he's fine. But you were doing Locked on Iowa, and you're watching Wisconsin. You're looking from the outside looking in. You had no rooting interest, and you just saw what they did against Middle Tennessee State. The center is injury prone. They just flipped four guys around. They have redshirt freshmen starting. They couldn't snap the ball. They don't have a backup center. I feel like we had this conversation last year. Can the defensive line get fixed? Will they figure it out? And I feel like we had it the year before about some of the receivers and the drops. And they'll figure it out because we just kind of keep saying they'll figure it out. I think it's tough when you get to a certain point in the season to say they're going to get dramatically better. Like, there is a point you are who you are.
True. And last year when we talked about the defensive line, we talked a lot about how the talent wasn't in the room. However, there are 3 returning starters on this offensive line. Like, that's not nothing. I mean, you're certainly with Haywood being gone, that's a big deal. They weren't prepared for it, yes. But when you have 3 returning linemen, and one of the other starters is Emerson Mandel, a guy that we're high on, it should be able to get fixed with that. Like, we're at the present time, you could absolutely see a world where all 3 of those guys now on the left side of the line go to the NFL. I'm not saying they're all going to play in the NFL, but I'm saying you could absolutely see a scenario where all 3 of those guys are making rosters with their first year in the NFL. I don't see how it can't get fixed with those 3 guys all playing on the same side of the line. So I think I hear you on the talent. I hear you on what we said last year, but I just think it's different because you're returning so much production from that group. I mean, it's shocking that it is what it is, and they just move position, so it'll take a couple weeks. But by the time we get to Michigan, I fully expect this line to be humming as long as everyone's healthy. Humming is not the right word. Better.
Okay. I'm with you. So I'm with you on some of this, right? I'm with you on better. Because it has to be. There is more talent in this room than what showed itself on the field. So yes, it has to be better. I think, and I hate saying this, I think I'm kind of fact on they're not going to fully be able to fix this. And part of it is, dude, we can't depend on Renfro being healthy, and we don't have a backup center. We don't have a backup tackle. And there are going to be moments where people get dinged up. You talked about it. Renfroe may not be healthy the entire year. Now, we don't know that's, but he may have something lingering the entire year. I don't think this is going to get fixed to the sense where it's an above average Big Ten offensive line. Will it get better? Yes, absolutely. Will it get fixed this year? I don't think it does.
Now, Renfroe did play all of last year, right? I don't think he missed games last year.
Now, he did play all of last year. The year before, he missed all of he missed all of that season.
Which kind of going full circle, which is like my first Fact or Fiction about not playing them this week. Like, I think it kind of goes back to that too. I'm like, well, you're right. Like, we absolutely need Jake Renfroe on this line. There is no doubt. So I'm going to go full circle. If he's not 100% ready, don't put that man out there this weekend. This is exactly why, because I don't want to be talking about Jake Renfroe being injured again and us playing 6 games without him, because it's critical that he's there. And I'm not saying, listen, if he's 100% healthy, put him out there. That's fine. But if he's not, and if he's like, well, I could play, like, I think Edwards could have played last. I think he could play this week, but I think they're intentionally not playing him because Danny Neal's playing fine, like you mentioned. And it makes me worry about it. Sorry, I kind of went full circle my point, but I do think that all goes together.
Dude, I love it. I love you wrapping these points together. Like, this show is awesome because it's just spiderwebbing into other conversations. This feels like a phone call we have that isn't being recorded. I worry. You know, I don't love that because I worry where you draw the line then. Mason Reiger missed all of last year with an injury. Do we not play him? Right? Because you need him for the rest of the season too. He's definitely a guy you have to monitor, put on a snap count. Has had a lot of injury concerns in his career. Not play him? What about, Lance Mason has had an injury before in his career. Like, I just feel like if you start to pull this string, do you just not play anybody because Bama's a tough game? It feels like the type of thing that you got to take a swing at Bama if you get a swing at Bama, because otherwise, what's the point?
Yeah, I mean, obviously those guys are all healthy. They played last week. I'm saying because Renfroe obviously wasn't in there, and he clearly has something going on, and there is a clear discussion, because the fact that no one really knows if he's playing or not, that means he's on the fence. And I'm just saying, if he's on the fence, maybe we just go this way.
No, I hear it. Listen, I hear it.
But I also don't want to get blown up by Alabama, so there's that too.
Yeah. Well, I love this one. We'll get one from the Discord, and we'll probably wrap it up here again. I'm going to take all the ones that y'all put in the Discord, and we're going to do a wrap-up show on those. Yeah. So those are not going to be wasted. Don't feel like you did. Honcho, good friend Honcho, says, Fact or Fiction, the offense needs to pass to set up the run.
At this point, absolutely. I mean, it does. Like, I think you can try to establish the run early, and we will. We're obviously going to see what we've got. We're going to put a lot of pressure on the run blocking schemes, and a part of that is that as well. The offensive line talk. I think all the run blocking schemes get better. So to that, but yeah, I mean, we've clearly got, like, Grimes runs a very progressive type of a system. Like, it's very modern. I think he does set up like that short yardage pass situations to be able to make that happen. So yeah, set it up, and hopefully you can loosen things up for the run game.
100% agree. Yeah. Like Legos, we're sticking together on this one. Hooger says, Fact, get them the F out of the box.
Oh, God, seriously.
Nick Hitchens is a great dude, man. Says, Truth. Will Hannah says, you'll have to throw to lighten the load in the box. Here's a follow-up question for you, man. I know I said that was going to be my last one, but I got to follow up. Fact or Fiction, our receivers can generate separation against SEC cornerbacks. I talked to a couple Bama people this week. Also talked to Brian Smith, who does Locked On Florida State, saw Alabama up close and personal, said, quote, Alabama has 2 NFL corners. They're going to sit right on top of Vinny, right on top of whoever else on the other side. They're going to dare you to get separation. Fact or Fiction, our receivers can consistently win against those athletes.
Probably fiction, but I do think that our scheme will allow them to get more open. I trust in what Grimes is going to do. He's played against these types of opponents before, and I think that through various routes and things like that and different schemes, I think that people like the patterns, whether it be crossing and this, I think we will find ways to get open. In a one-on-one situation, can our guy beat their guys with consistency? No, I think Vinny probably can, but I just think that, I think these guys are elite corners. They are elite corners for sure, and that's going to be difficult for us. They go up against Ryan Williams every day in practice. It's going to be difficult for that, but I do think the scheme will help.
Yeah, Tim said Fact with Grimes help, scheme matters. I think it's a good point. I'm going to say Fact on this. Actually, wait, which one was the good one? let me go with this. I think Vinny can get separation because I think Vinny is an NFL guy. I think he's fast enough. He's experienced enough. He's a really good route runner. I think Vinny's going to win his share, to be honest. On the other side, man, I don't know. I don't think Tretch is a great route runner yet. Ballard, Hilton, Brooks. Brooks isn't going to get separation this game. Gosh, love him. He's going to be physical. They're going to be like Velcro on Chris Brooks. So I think Vinny can, but there's got to be a second guy who can, and that's where I get a little bit worried about this offense.
I wonder if they're going to pack the box in this game, actually, because they know that we have O-line problems. Like, are they going to be like, fine, if you want to pass to set up the run, all right, we're not going to load the box at all. You're still not going to be able to run theoretically if Renfro doesn't play. It doesn't matter if they're loading the box or not. I don't think we're running the ball. Therefore, we're really going to struggle. So hopefully, I mean, I'm very curious as to how they're going to set up defensively, and if they are really going to just try to stop us and force Danny O'Neal to throw. And if they do, they're like, we don't care because we've got cornerbacks that we don't mind being on an island with your receivers, and that's going to tell us. We're going to learn a lot very early on. I'd
be stunned, and I agree. I don't know either. I will be stunned if they don't load the box. Because I think they're going to trust their athletes in their pass rush. And yeah. I think they're also going to know who Danny O'Neal is. And you and I have talked, I love Danny O'Neal, what we've seen so far, but let's also acknowledge the fact that arm strength isn't a great asset for him. And they're going to say, make tight window throws. We're going to get pressure on you, make tight window throws, and we're going to load the box. And we don't think Danny O'Neal and your receivers can beat us. And we're going to make sure your running game doesn't. So it's a game plan every blue chip program has played against Wisconsin for the last 20 years. Ohio State, Penn State, Oregon. 8 in the box, beat us throwing, beat us with your athletes. You can't do it. I'd be stunned if Bama didn't do that.
We do have better athletes than we have in the past as far as on the outside. So maybe this year we can shock them a little bit.
Yeah, Rajiv, that's a good show, man. We might have to just do 3 factor predictions for these shows because we don't get them all in. But that was awesome. KBP says, great show, guys. Head into Tuscaloosa. Have a great time.
Yeah, dude. I'm gonna see Kevin in a few weeks, KPB in Oregon. So going to be sitting with him, and it's going to be awesome. Can't wait.
Yeah, he's a good dude, man. Last thoughts here before we wrap this up.
Man, I just want to see us play well. I really want to see it play well. I mean, I talked to some of the same Alabama guys that you talked to, I think yesterday. I talked to them today, and they're pretty hyped about their team. They're pretty hyped about what's going on. They feel like the fact that Florida State did beat them, they're not going to get caught off guard now because the whole country was watching what happened to them. They're out for blood, and they're really ready to play. I think what I'm most nervous about this game is I want our defense to be as good as we think it is. And if Alabama just makes us look really bad defensively, it's going to make me pretty bummed out because I'm really high on them. And it's one of the units we really can be excited about. So I really hope that defense plays well. It's the matchup that I'm most excited to watch.
I think it's good, but that's a great point, man. If Bama plays really well offensively, I don't know where we hang our hat. I think the defense is going to travel, though. I actually am pretty confident about the defense. I'm terrified of the offensive line if Renfro doesn't play. It's as simple as that. I think if Renfro plays, if we had last year's offensive line with everything else on this team, listen, you still don't feel great about going down to Bama and beating them, but I think you feel really good with where you're at.
Why does it always have to be something? Why can't we just have it all worked out? Like literally every single position group on this team right now, everyone feels good about except for one. Maybe you could argue cornerbacks, but I feel like right now it's if the offensive line, if you bring back Nelson and Huber and you put them with those guys, I think I'm calling for 8 or 9 wins. I mean, I just feel like I think this is a really big problem, and if we can solve it. Like we said, if we can get to there and we can actually fix it, then maybe we can really have a special season still. I'm going to choose to believe that.
Yeah, if they can fix it. And by the way, you mentioned Grimes, you mentioned Blazik, but also Casey Rybach. Like this team has so many offensive line voices that it's almost unfathomable to figure out how we got here and why it looks like it does. But that also should give you reason to believe it should get better. To your point, there's people in that room that should know how to do this. Jesse Wilder picking the upset. Bucky 28, Bama 24. Listen,
let's go.
We beat Bama. We're gonna be pouring pints on the reaction show. We're gonna go 2 hours.
It's gonna be. Oh, it's gonna be great. Oh, I don't even want to think about that. I don't even want to think about it.
All right, Richie. This is an hour show, which is long, basically as long as we get on Locked On Badgers, unless we beat Bama on Wisconsin. Appreciate Rajiv as always for jumping in. Again, we're going to do these Fact or Fictions every Tuesday. Go check out him. Bucky Report, obviously, Justin's over there as well. I'm probably going to get an angry text from Justin, but we'll hash it out. On Wisconsin, appreciate you guys so much, and we will definitely talk later.